Ginger trade breakdown, fresh rhizome, powder, price shock and market entry. This video is based on the Merit Gateway Value Chain Report on ginger. The goal is not to treat ginger as a simple spice. The goal is to understand how one familiar ingredient becomes a global trade story involving fresh rhizomes, dried whole ginger, crushed and ground ginger, processing hubs, price shocks, health demand, and market entry strategy. Ginger is traded under a more detailed HS structure than it used to be. Before the HS 2012 revision, ginger was broadly classified under HS 910.10. After the revision, the code was split. HS 910.11 covers ginger that is neither crushed nor ground, including fresh, chilled, dried, or whole rhizomes. HS 910.12 covers ginger that is crushed or ground, including powder and fragmented forms. That split matters. Whole ginger and ground ginger do not serve the same market. Whole ginger is connected to fresh consumption, food service, retail produce, drying, slicing, and further processing. Ground ginger is closer to the spice trade, industrial formulation, bakery, beverage, seasoning blends, nutraceuticals, and value-added ingredient channels. So the first lesson is simple. Ginger is not one trade lane. It is a family of product forms. What is ginger? Ginger is the rhizome of Zingiber officinale roscoe, a perennial herb in the same botanical family as turmeric and cardamom. The product that enters trade is the underground rhizome. Knobby on the outside, pale yellow inside, aromatic, pungent, and chemically active. The report highlights compounds such as gingerol, showgales, and zingerone. These compounds are part of why ginger matters in both food and wellness markets. In food, ginger brings heat, aroma, and freshness. In wellness and traditional medicine, it is linked to digestion, inflammation, nausea support, and functional food positioning. That dual identity is important. Ginger is not just a cooking ingredient. It is also sold as a health ingredient, a tea ingredient, a supplement input, and an industrial flavor. Different origins can also mean different commercial stories. Indian ginger varieties such as Cochin and Calicut are described as milder and more aromatic, while other varieties can be more fibrous and pungent. In trade, buyers often care about origin even when the HS code is the same, because origin can signal flavor profile, fiber content, drying quality, residue risk, size, and processing suitability. Why demand exists? Ginger demand exists because the product crosses culture, cuisine, industry, and health. In Asian cuisines, ginger is a foundational ingredient used fresh, dried, pickled, sliced, powdered, and cooked into sauces, soups, curries, marinades, teas, and sweets. In Europe and North America, ginger appears in bakery, confectionery, ginger beer, herbal infusions, wellness shots, spice blends, and seasonal products. The report connects ginger demand to food, beverage, pharmaceutical, and wellness industries. That gives ginger a wider base than many agricultural products. A buyer may be a fresh produce importer, a spice grinder, a beverage company, a supplement brand, a confectionery manufacturer, a tea blender, or an essential oil and oleoresin processor. This is why demand is resilient but complicated. If a fresh ginger buyer is focused on visual quality, size, shelf life, and cold chain performance, that buyer is not looking for the same supplier as a powder buyer who needs low moisture, microbial control, mesh size, color, pungency, and certificate documentation. The product form changes the buyer. From field to final consumer. The value chain starts with cultivation in tropical and subtropical regions. Ginger performs best in warm, moist conditions, with temperatures around 20 to 30 degrees Celsius and annual rainfall around 1,000 to 2,500 millimeters. But the crop is sensitive to waterlogging, which makes drainage, raised beds, soil preparation, and field management important. The crop is labor-intensive. Farmers prepare soil, plant rhizome pieces, mulch, manage weeds, and control disease. Ginger for fresh consumption can be harvested earlier, when the rhizome is tender. Ginger for dried or industrial use is usually harvested after maturity, when the foliage yellows and the rhizome has developed stronger fiber and pungency. After harvest, the chain splits. Fresh ginger moves through cleaning, grading, curing, packing, cold storage, and retail or food service distribution. Dried whole ginger moves through washing, peeling or scraping in some systems, slicing or splitting, drying, sorting, and packing. Ground ginger requires another layer: drying, grinding, sieving, microbial control, and packaging. Industrial products such as oleoresin or extracts add even more processing and quality control. The final consumer rarely sees the trade code. They see fresh ginger in a supermarket, ginger powder in a spice jar, ginger tea, ginger candy, ginger beer, a wellness shot, a supplement capsule, or a flavor system inside a processed food. That is why the market must be understood as a chain from farm condition to end-use specification. Global supply and production signal. The report shows that ginger production is concentrated in tropical and subtropical regions, with South Asia maintaining a dominant role. It also highlights a key structural point. The growth of ginger supply has not only come from more land. Productivity gains have been important, allowing global supply to expand without a proportional increase in harvested area. India and China are central to the production and export story, but they are not the only relevant countries. Nigeria, Thailand, Peru, Brazil, and other producers also matter in different ways. Some countries are primary producers. Some are processing centers. Some are re-export hubs. Some serve premium organic or quality-sensitive markets. This matters because harvested area and export value do not always line up neatly. A country like the Netherlands may appear strongly in trade data without being a major ginger-growing country. That is not a contradiction. It is a sign of hub activity. Import, sorting, storage, distribution, and re-export into Europe. Global trade signal. The report separates whole ginger from crushed or ground ginger. For ginger that is neither crushed nor ground, trade is much larger. The report states that global exports under this category surpass $9.9 billion, while imports are around $9.36 billion. It also describes re-export activity of more than $314 million, which shows how important trade hubs are in this market. Crushed or ground ginger is smaller but still significant. The report describes exports at just over $540 million and imports at approximately $1.34 billion. It also notes that import quantity for this form exceeds 500 million kilograms. That tells us the process segment is not the largest part of the ginger trade, but it is a meaningful value-added channel. The split between these two forms is one of the strongest lessons in the report. Whole ginger dominates physical and commercial movement. Ground ginger is more specialized, closer to processed food, spice, and industrial ingredient channels. A market entry strategy that works for fresh ginger may not work for powder. A supplier that can ship bulk whole rhizomes may not be ready for industrial powder buyers. Top exporters. The report describes export concentration among major suppliers. On the quantity side, over the long term, India, China, and Thailand dominate, reflecting production scale, harvested area, and established export systems. In the recent 5-year view, India, China, and Thailand continue to dominate by quantity. But value tells a more complex story. For ginger that is neither crushed nor ground, China is described as the overwhelming leader, with exports exceeding $6 billion. The Netherlands ranks second at about $1.26 billion, acting mainly as a re-export hub into the wider European market. Peru follows at nearly $700 million, gaining ground in the United States and Europe, especially where quality and organic positioning matter. India and Brazil complete the top 5 in that value view, with exports around $555 million and $353 million respectively. For crushed or ground ginger, the exporter story changes. India becomes especially important because of its spice processing base. China remains relevant, but the process trade also brings in countries with grinding, blending, and spice industry capacity. So the exporter lesson is not simply, who grows the most ginger? The better question is, who supplies fresh whole rhizomes? Who supplies dried whole ginger? Who supplies ground ginger? Who acts as a hub? And who can meet premium or certified requirements? Top importers. The importer story also changes depending on product form. The report says the Netherlands and Japan lead in imports of raw ginger, while Japan and Germany dominate the trade in ground ginger. The United States is described as one of the largest global importers of ginger, heavily concentrated on unprocessed forms, even though the separated subcode tables may not fully capture U.S. activity in the extracted data. This matters because importing countries do not all represent the same demand. The Netherlands is a European logistics and re-export hub. Japan is a high-standard consumption and processing market. Germany is important for processed ginger and industrial food demand. The United States is a large consumption-oriented market, sourcing raw ginger mainly from China, Peru, and Thailand, while also importing ground ginger from India and other processing hubs. For exporters, this means the target market must match the product form. A fresh ginger exporter may prioritize the United States, Japan, the Netherlands, or other fresh-oriented channels. A powder exporter may look more closely at Germany, Japan, and industrial ingredient buyers. A premium organic supplier may build a different strategy around U.S. and European specialty channels. Transport and logistics. The report also looks at transport. Sea transport dominates by volume because ginger is moved in large consignments over long distances, and sea freight is the most cost-efficient method for bulk trade. Road and rail matter for regional and cross-border flows. Air transport is much smaller by quantity, but it can matter for high-value or time-sensitive goods. This is important for quality. Ginger is not just a dry number in customs data. Fresh ginger can be affected by time, humidity, temperature, handling, mold, shrinkage, and damage. Dried ginger and powder face different risks. Moisture, contamination, microbial load, adulteration, and packaging quality. The transport choice, therefore, depends on the market segment. Bulk fresh ginger usually needs cost-efficient maritime logistics with quality-preserving handling. Premium or urgent shipments may justify faster routes. Powder and dried ginger depend more on moisture control, packaging, and documentation. Price and PPU. The report uses price per unit or PPU to understand trade value. For global ginger exports, it describes a long-term structural shift. In the early 2000s, prices were lower and more stable. Around 2016 and 2017, PPU increased sharply, approaching $3 per kilogram. From 2018 to 2021, PPU reached some of its highest levels, around $2.8 to $3.20 per kilogram. In 2022 to 2024, PPU eased but remained elevated, averaging around $2.5 to $2.70 per kilogram. This is one of the most important market signals. Ginger trade growth is not only about more tons. It is also about higher unit values that can reflect supply pressure, quality differentiation, product mix, demand growth, and processed or premium segments. But PPU is not a quoted market price. It is trade value divided by quantity. It mixes grades, origins, shipping terms, fresh and dried forms, and product quality. The best use of PPU is to ask better questions. Why is this country exporting at this unit value? Is the product fresh, dried, organic, ground, premium, or simply moving through a hub? Price shock and sourcing risk. The report gives a strong recent example of ginger price risk. Between 2023 and 2025, global ginger prices experienced sharp surges driven mainly by supply-side shocks. Lower yields in China and India tightened Asian stocks. In Nigeria, severe ginger blight destroyed large portions of the crop, pushing domestic prices up by as much as sixfold within 2 years. Heavy rains in several regions disrupted harvesting and drying, causing quality losses and reducing export availability. This is the kind of paragraph that should make sourcing teams pay attention. Ginger is grown in concentrated regions, and the market can be hit by weather, disease, yield shocks, and quality problems. When supply tightens in major origins, buyers do not just face higher prices. They also face inconsistent quality, delayed shipments, substitution pressure, and tougher supplier verification. The report also notes regional imbalance. When Brazil and China released larger volumes into Europe in 2025, Prices there dropped below cost even while shortages persisted elsewhere. That shows ginger is not one global price. It is a network of regional supply, timing, quality, stock levels, and buyer access. For importers, sourcing risk includes pesticide residues, microbial limits, mold, moisture, adulteration in powder, organic certification, traceability, and food safety documentation. For exporters, the risk is different. Crop disease, drying capacity, certification cost, logistics, buyer claims, and price volatility after harvest. Market entry strategy, Europe. The European Union is one of the most structured import markets for ginger. The report describes stable demand from food and pharmaceutical industries, with key importers including the Netherlands, Germany, and the United Kingdom before Brexit. The Netherlands often functions as a re-export hub, while Germany and the UK appear as higher-paying markets in some PPU comparisons. The EU market is differentiated. Low-cost supply flows mainly from Asia, while quality-branded and organic ginger has stronger potential in Northern and Western Europe. That means small and medium suppliers should not only think about competing on price. They can target value-added segments if they can prove quality, traceability, food safety, residue compliance, organic certification, drying standards, and reliable documentation. For Europe, the market entry question is, are you selling bulk ginger into a hub, or are you selling a differentiated product into a quality-sensitive channel? The answer changes the buyer, the packaging, the certificates, and the pricing strategy. Market entry strategy, United States. The United States is described as one of the largest global importers of ginger. Demand is driven by food and beverage industries and by the expanding health and wellness sector. China supplies much of the fresh ginger at competitive prices, while Peru has established itself as a key supplier for higher quality and organic segments. The U.S. is a consumption-oriented market. It values consistent supply, quality certification, and product differentiation. Distribution is concentrated through major coastal ports such as Los Angeles and New York, then moves to wholesalers, processors, and retail markets across the country. For exporters, the U.S. offers both mainstream bulk opportunities and premium certified opportunities. But it also demands reliability. A supplier entering the U.S. market must be ready for scale, food safety expectations, buyer audits, residue limits, documentation, and consistency across shipments. Buyer and exporter scenario. Imagine a U.S. importer looking for ginger. At first, the buyer may compare prices from China, Peru, Thailand, India, and Brazil, but the decision quickly splits by product use. If the buyer needs mainstream fresh ginger for supermarkets, the priorities are volume, appearance, shelf life, container handling, and price. If the buyer needs organic ginger for a premium wellness brand, Peru or another certified supplier may become more attractive even at a higher price. If the buyer needs ground ginger for industrial formulation, India or another spice processing origin may fit better, but only if the supplier can meet microbial, moisture, mesh size, color, and residue requirements. Now look from the exporter side. A producer with strong farm supply can win bulk channels, but only if post-harvest handling, curing, drying, packing, and logistics are reliable. A processor can capture more value by moving into powder, oleoresin, extracts, or certified organic channels. But that requires investment in quality systems, documentation, traceability, and buyer-specific specifications. The winner is not always the country with the largest production. The winner is the supplier whose product form, certification, quality proof, logistics, and buyer channel fit the market. Final takeaway. The final takeaway is that ginger is familiar to consumers but complex in trade. It is a spice, a fresh produce item, a dried agricultural product, a processed powder, a wellness ingredient, and an industrial flavor input. The HS split between 910.11 and 910.12 is the first clue. Whole ginger and crushed or ground ginger move through different channels. China, India, Thailand, the Netherlands, Peru, Brazil, Japan, Germany, and the United States all matter, but they matter in different ways. Some produce, some process, some consume, some re-export, some specialize in premium or certified channels. The report shows a market shaped by long-term demand growth, rising unit values, logistics efficiency, and sharp supply shocks. The recent price volatility from disease, weather, lower yields, and regional imbalances proves that ginger sourcing is not casual. It requires origin strategy, product form clarity, quality documentation, and risk management. For Merit Gateway, the Ginger Report is not just a product summary. It is a case study in how a familiar ingredient becomes a global value chain decision. If you want the full breakdown, including charts, trade flows, price signals, and market entry strategy, read the Ginger Value Chain Report at Merit Gateway.